So if you follow me, you know that I love to encourage execution, stepping outside people's comfort zone, following up. And sure enough, last week I met in person with a brand new lawyer just past the bar who actually followed up with me, executed, asked for advice. So of course I invited him over and I want to talk to him. I talked to you about what I talked to him about because he is experiencing a quandary that many people have experienced, not just in law, but in any business. Do I try to work for someone to learn more, to develop my practice, to develop my relationships? Or do I open my own shop, my own shingle, and learn through doing, but I get to keep more of what I do? And I want to tell you what I told him. I said, look, you got two issues. You got to learn how to do law. You got to learn how to litigate. You got to learn how to determine what's important and what's not. And then you have to get the work and the cases to work on. And in many ways, when we first start, we don't have either. But I'm going to talk today about getting those cases. So this new lawyer said, well, I guess the way I get good cases and more cases is I have money to make ads and billboards and market, et cetera. But I don't have any money, so I guess I'm screwed, right? And I think that's a misnomer that a lot of people think. They see all the billboards, they see all of the advertising, they see the mills that are, make money on the backs of hardworking people. They settle the cases cheap and then they use that money to go get more and more and more. And I'm sorry, but that happens. And I talked to him about the three things that anyone can do to improve their networking skills and improve their chances of bringing in work. And the first thing is, I said, you got to step outside your comfort zone and execute. And the reason I'm meeting with you is that 95+% of people don't reach out. They don't reach out to people like me who are offering help because it's uncomfortable. I don't want to bother you. I'm embarrassed. I don't take charity. I don't want you to know that I'm X, Y, or Z, not smart enough, not good enough, whatever. But you got over that discomfort and you push through that and you execute it. That applies if you want to be successful in every business. That applies to you and your ability to go meet people, right? When you think about the last convention, meeting, party that you went to and you didn't know anybody, you're hanging out at a table, nursing some drink forever. If you really look around, there's probably the majority of the people doing the same thing. Why don't you go up to those people who are nursing their drinks? I don't know them. That's uncomfortable. They're going to be uncomfortable, et cetera, et cetera. But I guarantee you that those people are thinking the very same thing that you're thinking. Stepping outside your comfort zone is pushing through that, right? Pushing through and meeting someone. But that's only the beginning of your journey to build a network. When you go and you introduce yourself, you need to listen to them. You need to acknowledge who they are, what they do. Ask them about themselves. Let's say their dog is named Fifi and they like the Dodgers. Right? Many times at a networking event, when I meet someone, I will then, not as many people have business cards now, but certainly if they have a business card, before I go say hi to somebody else, I'll write down, likes the Dodgers, they're a family law specialist and their dog's named Fifi. Because you realize that then networking is about following up over time with that relationship. I call it touching the relationship over time. So one, you step outside your comfort zone, you meet the person, you get the information, right, in a friendly way. 2, you keep track of that information, who they are, what are they about, what is something that you know about them, how would you contact them, what's their cell number, right? The new iPhone software, if you put your iPhone up to their iPhone, it automatically will exchange contacts, right? It's great. I mean, it's like I started, once I realized that, I would get people's information and make them less uncomfortable. Hey, have you seen this new cool thing about iPhones? And, I'm exchanging information. But now that I have it, then I have to go into the notes and then say their dog's name Fifi, they like the Dodgers, et cetera, because now I want to touch that relationship again. And so I showed this new lawyer my stationery. And he's probably 26. He's like, what the hell is that? I'm like, yeah, this exactly. Writing a personal note is my way of continuing to touch that relationship. So all of those people that I meet, I will have written that Fifi Dodger lover. Great to meet you. Hey, I hope I get to see you again sometime. Hey, but what about Ohtani and them Dodgers, right? Can't wait to see that. P.S. I hope Fifi's doing well. That person feels included, listened to, loved. Now, from the time I meet them to the time they read my note, I'm touching that relationship. If they get a case that they need somebody on, while there may be a lot of people that can do just as good a job as I can, they're probably going to refer it to me because I'm fresh in mind. But that takes initiative, that takes execution, that takes the initial getting outside your comfort zone. Now you have that information, you wrote the note. That is the step forward to the next time you see them. Hey, did you get my note? Hey, how's Fifi? Right? That is now the jumping off point for the third contact. You're extending. Also, if you have their cell number, you have their email, you get them to follow you, vice versa on social media. Ask them to subscribe to your YouTube channel. Are y'all getting what I'm saying? By the way, YouTube channel, AlderTalk, by the way, Instagram, Alder Law, and Mike.Alder. Not only is that great information on those platforms, right? Not only am I preaching it, but I'm also touching the relationship. Every time you see that, I become up in mind. So now, from the time I've met you to the time you got my note, to the time you see me again, to the time you read my book, to the time you see my next post, to the time you read my next article, to the time you see my newsletter, during all of that period of time, if you get a case that you need to refer out, you have a question on, et cetera, you're much, much more likely to call me. And that's what I was explaining to him. What did he say? What we all say. The all self-talk that we all do to talk us out of stuff. Well, I'll do that when I'm Mike, but I'm too young, too inexperienced, et cetera, et cetera. It doesn't work for me when I don't have the experience. Everybody says that. That was me. That was everybody that any of us all look up to as leaders in an industry. We were all there. Right? The successful ones got over it, stopped self-talking ourselves out of it, reached out and started building a network, even with one name, to 10, to 100, to 1,000. And we kept following up and following up. All of this is essentially free. I mean, you got to buy your stationery, you got to, get an email account, et cetera, have a phone. But compared to a billboard or to a TV ad, it's remarkably cheaper, right? And so I said, look, if you're going to start your own firm or you're going to work for somebody, under either circumstance, there's no time like the present to start creating a network and keeping track of that network. You can reach out to people and be kind to them and let them know that you listen to them, whether you're working for a firm or you have your own firm. Because eventually, if you start your own firm, you want to keep that network going. That is the secret to networking. Is it sexy? Eh. Is it quick? No. Is it hard? Thank God. Right? But that's what most of us in our careers do and have to do in order to be successful. You can do it. And if you have any questions, if you want to go over this again, if you want to say, Mike, am I doing it the right way? Am I saying the things that get people to respond? I've got that. I'm happy to share that information. I got many, many, many other tips that I know because I did it the wrong way and I've done it the right way. And I know what works and what doesn't. And I'm happy to share. Okay, it's time to share the secret gold. It's time to share what I get asked about all the time. That, the haters say, oh, that's platitudes, etc. And they don't actually do it. So I want to share today my routines, what I have kind of culled down to my core routines that I believe for me make me a better person, a better lawyer, a better husband, a better father, a better thinker, healthier, more efficient. And I'm going to share with you exactly what I do. But I want to talk about the process for just a minute. Right? So over time, I paid attention to the things that I wanted to do that were important to me, right? And we all know that written goals, you're 80% more likely to accomplish those goals. But through my journaling, through my written goals, through being in and around groups that are people that are above my pay grade, right? Faster, stronger, richer, better looking, better speakers, bigger verdicts, I would say better dancers. Not a lot of those because they're rare. But all of those groups help me realize the types of things that I want to accomplish in my life. And I also realized that these things are not easy. And my mindset of them not being easy, being a good thing, will help me accomplish all the things that I want. And so as I was doing, this work, things fell out of that I know that I want to do. I want to learn Spanish, so I want to do Duolingo, right? I want to learn more about artificial intelligence and chat GPT. And so I want to read or listen to a YouTube channel on that. I want to be healthy in my exercise. I want to do something that causes me discomfort and pain and suffering, cold plunges, cold showers. I know that journaling is going to help me. Meditation is going to help me. Deep breathing is going to help me. So I want to make sure that I do those things. I want to make sure that I keep track of my goals, my written goals, and I look at them regularly so that I can use them as guideposts as I go through. Right? And so as I pull all of this together, I have written them down and I want to tell you about them. But I saw a YouTube channel, a YouTube video on AI and how ChatGPT can then take all of this and then put it in the most efficient way of doing it throughout the day. And I have it here in front of me. I then hired someone through Upwork to make it into a pretty illustrated visual with checkboxes. And I made a bunch of copies and I have one for each day. And so why do I do this? Am I obsessive compulsive? I don't think so, not really. But even if I was, and you're saying, well, I'll only do that if I was obsessive compulsive, you've already done that self-talk to prevent yourself from maximizing your efficiency, maximizing your process, and maximizing and reaching, more of your potential. So here's what I do. And I have it on a list. And even though I kind of know this, like the back of my hand, It's written down. It has check boxes that I check off every single day. Right? And I use it sometimes when, my day is disrupted, a baby's crying, I got to go do something else, an emergency happens, and I don't do it in the order in which I want to do it. Having it written down, being able to go back. You remember those times? We all have those times where you're like, you don't know what to do. You're kind of like, well, should I watch TV? Should I do this? Maybe. Having something to pull you back into your routines and remind you of the things that you wanted to accomplish. So here's my list. So I want to get at least 7, if not 8 hours of sleep. And so I know that I want to prepare myself for the next morning. So in the evening, and I'm going to put this into context, I want to drink at least enough water, and I've researched how much water I'm drinking, and it is, at least for 10 hours of my day, I want to drink on average 6 ounces, 8 ounces of water every hour. And it's well known that, you don't have to drink 6 ounces every hour, but I wanted to be hydrated in a way that worked for me. So I set out my water bottle the night before. So when I wake up and I go into the bathroom, it's right there. I set out my clothes that I'm going to wear the next morning, my workout clothes, so that when I go there, I can put it, I have it right there. Right? So here's what I do. I go to sleep at a time when I can get 7 or 8 hours of sleep. Because I wake up at 4, that means that I'm going to go to bed between 8 and 9 o'clock. I want to be healthy, so I have my water set out, I have my clothes. I'm doing 75 Hard, which is a program where one of the things I do is take a photo. So I wake up, I'm just going to be straight up with you. Wake up, go to the bathroom, I weigh myself, I take a photo of myself before I get dressed. Then I jump in a cold shower. Right? If Gina's up then, I then make my bed. Right? I use a CPAP for sleeping, and I take the hose off and I clean the CPAP. I go downstairs, and if the kids aren't up yet, I journal. Then I do my focus practice, which I've talked to you about focusing on something and exercising your brain. I then have visualizations of being successful, of being a good speaker, of being a good person, of being a giving person, being a good husband, of being a good father, of being a good provider. And I visualize that with beads, which are 108 beads in a necklace, prayer beads, meditation beads, they're all, and by the time I get to that 108, and visualizing and putting myself mentally in a position what I want to accomplish, I've accomplished my goal. The sun is starting to rise, and I will sit in the sun as it comes up for just 5 or 10 minutes. No noise, no phone, no nothing. Now, I don't get to do all of that sometimes when the kids wake up. But I have it written down, and at some point during the day, I check those things off. I have a notebook that I know that I'm going to journal in. I also do a list of the things that I am grateful for, at least 15 to 25. A list of 15 to 25 things over the last day that I've done that were positive. I have a breathing apparatus to practice my breathing that helps me breathe. It helps me in my fitness. Right? And then it's now 5:15. And for the very first time, I will look at my phone, my social media. I'll look at emails for the first time. And if at that point I can get on a Stairmaster or a treadmill at my house, I will do that while I'm looking at my social media. I then write an article for LinkedIn. I go through the YouTube videos that I'm looking for, and many times those spur ideas for me to write a LinkedIn article. Now, why is that in my routine? Because I want to have a lot of information on my LinkedIn. And what better way than making sure that I write at least one article every single day, a little 300-word article every single day. It is content that I am continuously doing. While I'm on the treadmill, I'm doing my Duolingo and learning Spanish. I'm watching a YouTube video. I have part of 75 Hard, at least 10 pages of a fiction book that I either read or listen to. So while I'm working out and I'm not on an actual Stairmaster where I can watch a video, I'm working out, I've got Audible on and I'm listening to a fiction book. You know, making myself do that, finding those books. I have listened to, read some things that I never would have picked up. Never in a billion years would I be reading a book about an 1780s midwife in Massachusetts and how people live. I'm like, what? It was the best damn book I've ever listened to, but it was never going to be on my radar, except for that I was intentional and I was open to new things. It came up on my Audible list. Boom. Now I have that information and I really have been made better for listening to that. I then look at my written goals. Again, if I'm interrupted, right? You got babies, you got et cetera. Sometimes you got to take your kids to school. Sometimes your spouse does. Sometimes if you have a blended family, your kids aren't with you that go to school. You work all this through, but I've got it on a list, right? I know. And if I don't do it right in the first of the morning, I'm going to do it later in the day. But you can see all these things I've talked about. I've already done them by 6:30 in the morning. A lot of people say, well, that's a whole day's worth of work. It was when I started. But I realized that as I make those a routine, I make them habitual, then it's easier and more efficient for me to do this. Now, I've also started getting into the pool before the sun rises for a 3 to 5 minute cold plunge. And then I'm limping back up to the shower because it's freaking cold, but it's on my list and I do it. I then take the girls to school or I get into the office and I adhere to a Pareto principle where I set a timer to do focused work and then nothing interrupts me, no phones, no texts. I close the door. And what was recommended initially was 45 minutes on, and then you take 5 to 10 minute break. As I did this, I realized that 45 minutes was too long for me. So now I do it for 25 minutes, and I set a timer for 25 minutes. And I'm like, I picked out a task that I am going to accomplish, a task or tasks, and I focus on it. And I don't worry about anything else. I don't let anything else interrupt me. Once I'm done 25 minutes, then I'll go walk around, I'll go outside, I'll get a cup of coffee, maybe I'll do a plank or a push-up or go say hi to somebody in the office, or if Gina's in the office, spend some time with Gina, and then go back for another 25 minute session. Now, these are goals, and those are generalities, and obviously throughout different days, if you've got meetings, you got court, you got whatever, it gets interrupted. But because I have them written down, because I have a go-to place that I can go back to, when I do have the time, it takes me less time to get back in the zone, less time to get back in the zone. Right? If I'm intermittent fasting, I don't eat until noon, it's on my schedule. When I stop working on for the day and I'm going home, it's on my schedule. Right? At night, after dinner, I know that I want to read something on the law to improve my craft. I want to read something about workers' comp to improve my craft. And then before bed, I set myself up again for the next day. I journal a little bit. I talk about what I did during the day and get my thoughts out on a piece of paper, what I'm looking forward to the next morning. I turn off TVs and screens at least an hour before I'm ready to go to bed. I don't do things by watching TV or being on my phone in the bed, because the bed, when you're in your bedroom, that is something that helps you go to sleep if you realize that, when you go into your bedroom and you want to go to sleep, that's the only thing that you're focused on, not TV, et cetera, et cetera. And then, of course, I go get my clothes and I set them out for the next morning. I go get my water bottle. I set it out for the next morning. Repeat, repeat, repeat. And then at the bottom, I have reminders, right? Text my kids, drink my water, remember to stay positive, practice makes perfect, step outside your comfort zone. Pain is a good thing, not a bad thing, right? Smile and sit up. Look for opportunities to clean your environment, to keep yourself well organized. Write at least 2 notes to somebody every day. And that's all on my list. Repeat, repeat. Now, people say sometimes, the people that talk themselves out of doing this stuff, well, I'm not that well organized, or that's a boring life, right? Or whatever it is that they want to say to not do this. This is what works for me. Having these things that I'm able to do on a regular basis makes me more disciplined in other things when I'm ready and need to do that. Right? Why am I a better trial lawyer from it? Is because I know that I have a foundation of routines. Now, let's say when I start the next Modesto toxic tort trial for a month, I have my routines that give me the mental and physical strength, that give me the positive mindset, that give me the tools that I need for me to be the best that I can be. This will work for everyone. You don't have to do any of these things. But if you do a lot of these things, I know from experience, now having not done them and done them for many years, that these things work. And what I'm saying is nothing new. What I'm saying is the things that Marcus Aurelius said 2,000 years ago, that you've heard from Zig Ziglar and Dale Carnegie and Tony Robbins and all of the people on TikTok and on Instagram, et cetera. This is not anything new. But maybe this time that you hear it, you'll do it. If not, maybe the next time you hear it, you'll do it. But I guarantee you that once you pull the trigger, once you execute on this, it will change your life. And as I always say, if anybody wants to talk about this, I'm here. If anybody wants to see my list, come on, right? I am here to help you in whatever it is that you need, because that's another part of how I live my life. What I get enjoyment from is helping people. Whether you believe me or not, it really doesn't matter to me. And if you're like poo-pooing it right now, why don't you look at that and see if really it matters whether I'm telling you the truth or not, or whether you're talking yourself out of doing things like this because this is uncomfortable, because it's hard, because it's difficult. This is what it takes. God, what a blessing it is to be able to do this, to live our lives, to have a way of being better, being more successful, being better for ourselves, for our families, for our kids, for our co-employees. This is the secret sauce.